Rosie, I'm going to make you my famous red wine and vanilla poached pear muffins.
Delicious.
They are delicious.
Yum.
And they are so simple and easy to cook. I'm going to do it just with my arms crossed, just sitting here. Well, I'm going to get you to do half of it, Rosie. So I've got a little egg carton over there.
Yeah.
Pop 2 eggs out of the egg carton.
You got it.
And put them into this jar here. Crack them in there, and I want you to whisk them up with a fork to break them up. I find that whisking with a fork is one of the best ways to break up an egg. You can use a whisk as well. You know, whisking with a whisk and whisking with a fork are the great ways to bust up eggs. Chuck into that, and then once you've whisked it up, and you can tell when the eggs come together, it becomes a one colour, and all the white is combined with the yolk. I'll get you to pour in that 250 mils of lovely fresh milk. There
Beautiful.
we go.
You really are just going to stand there, aren't you?
No, I'll do a little bit of work, but I need to concentrate to make sure you do this part really well. That's it.
You want all of it?
Yeah, pour it all in. 250 mils exactly, 2 whole eggs, quite a simple one. You need to make sure the eggs are incorporated with the actual milk. I've got 250 grams of self-raising flour. You need self-raising so you can give it a bit of a lift. If you don't have any self-raising, you can use 250 grams of plain flour, but put about half a teaspoon of baking powder in there, and that'll help to give lift as well. 220 grams of caster sugar goes in there, and I've got a couple of tablespoons of cocoa, just to give it a little bit of colour. That goes in there as well, and of course some vanilla. You need a bit of vanilla in there. It's not a vanilla and red wine poached pear muffin unless you put the vanilla in it. There's Richo's pro tip.
I love vanilla extract.
It's got a great flavour to it.
It's the best, isn't it?
It is. Now, I'll just get you to stir that around. You can really smell that vanilla. So the trick is dry ingredients in one bowl and you mix it together so they're all combined. Wet ingredients in the other. And this is the fun part. This is when you bring the two together. So, Rosie, I'll make a well in the centre. I want you to pour that into there. There we go. And I'll stir that around profusely while it all comes together. A spatula is the best way to do it. You could whisk it, but you'll find the whisk will get all sort of gooey. Spatula brings it together beautifully. And you just stand here for about 30 seconds or so till it all comes together nice and gently. And you should be looking at a wet sort of batter. And if you do it properly, there should not be any lumps. And if you don't do it properly and there are some lumps, you can always give it a little bit of a tap with a whisk and that'll bring it all together. There we go. Spatula that around like that and you've got a nice, smooth batter that'll come together beautifully. Now, you'll see over here, Rosie, I've got some poached pears and I've poached these in some red wine. You can see the red wine's coloured them all the way through. Took them out of the red wine, took the core out of it and then chopped them up into a nice big chunky dice like that. You like that, don't you?
Two of my favourite things, red wine and pears.
In that order as well. There we go. So I'll just stir that around like this. And Rosie, if you can pass me one of those big spoons. I've got one of these big baking trays and a spoon like this. What you want to do with the batter, you could pour it in, but it's quite wet, this batter. So what we want to do is spoon it in quite gently. I'll show you the first one, Rosie. We'll grab this like this. You want to get the mixture to go in about 2/3 the way up the side of the muffin tin because you don't want it to spill out over the side too much. So we'll fill these up. We'll pop them into our oven that's preheated at 180 degrees Celsius. They'll take about 20, 25 minutes or so to cook, and then we'll tuck into these little babies. Quick little dusting with cocoa over the top there. Now, these are quite warm still, but I'm going to get straight into it.
Okay.
I've got one here. I'll just loosen it up a little bit and it pops out.
They smell
quite evenly.
really good, hey?
They do, don't they?
They do.
Now, what I'll do is I'll just cut through the middle here so you can sort of see, oh, look at the pear in there. The pear helps to keep it nice and moist as well.
Getting in there.
Yeah, get straight in there. It's quite hot.
Get off my side.
But it's nice. It keeps it quite moist as well. You can smell the vanilla in there, you can smell the cocoa, and the red wine is coming through as well. It's a nice, gentle little pear, isn't it?
That is lovely. Lovely seasonings. It feels a bit Christmassy. It's like, oh my goodness, that's lovely.
It's a lovely way to do it with the vanilla, poached pear, red wine, and a little bit of cocoa. A great, simple little muffin.